Frankly, I find this whole thing a waste of time. I don't frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
And I've never heard of you.
Then why the hell are you interviewing me, sir?
Ben Shapiro destroys leftist politician. Ben Shapiro destroys student and liberal debate. Ben Shapiro gets destroyed by BBC's Andrew Neil. When I saw this, I had to dive in. Ben Shapiro is one of the quickest debaters on his feet out there right now. I mean, he was in the Harvard debate team. He's a law student. I think he actually is a lawyer. And he's one of the best on his feet. And there's all these videos that you've probably seen of him just rolling people up. But he went up against this old dude on the BBC who sounds like he's narrating some old Sherlock Holmes novel. But the dude just keeps chucking along at him, keeps talking over him, bringing up old tweets. And Ben Shapiro eventually melts down so much that he ends the interview and takes the microphone off of him. And in this video, we're going to go through and break down actually what was going on in their heads. So you can break down and understand socially the different moves they were making and how Shapiro ended up getting trapped in a lot of this and some of the moves that Shapiro tried to make so you can use these strategies in your own life and not get trapped and someone tries to talk down to you. At the very end of the video, I'm going to give you a way if people talk down to you, like your friends or your boss at work, that you can come out of that on top and learn a quick comeback to say. So let's dive into this video. We're going to watch some of it and then we're going to go back, watch it again and break it down.
Some of the ideas that are popular in your side of politics would seem to take us back to the Dark Ages, Georgia, new abortion laws, which you are much in favor of, that a woman who miscarries could get 30 years. A Georgian woman who travels to another state for an abortion procedure could get 10 years. These are extreme hard policies.
Well, okay, a couple of things. One, I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
I'm a journalist that asks questions.
Okay, so you're a supposedly objective journalist calling policies with which you disagree barbaric and suggesting only one side of the political aisle has ideas. So I just want to point out that
I know that
I wish you would at least be honest in your own biases.
Mr. Shapiro, I know that broadcasting in America, a woman who miscarries could get 30 years.
Dude, this guy's demeanor is so funny, too. It's like the way he talks cracked him up. Just some sophisticated guy who has all the answers. I love it.
A Georgian woman who travels to another state for an abortion procedure could get 10 years. These are extreme hard policies.
Well, okay, a couple of things. One, I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
I'm a journalist that asks questions.
Okay, so this guy's been around the block, you can tell, just at his age and his demeanor. But he kind of caught Ben there when Ben says, which are you? Are you objective or are you somebody who actually has a side, right? Because most times in the U.S., Fox News is conservative and the rest of them are usually pretty liberal. So he asks him straight up and he just says, listen, basically saying, that's not important. I'm just asking you questions. You're the one being interviewed. So that's a very sharp response. It was a quick thinking response to his question that a lot of people would get put on tilt with.
I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
I'm a journalist that asks questions.
Okay, so you're a supposedly objective journalist calling policies with which you disagree barbaric and suggesting only one.
Okay, so that was a good thing. And this actually, this interview wasn't quite as terrible as I thought it was going to be when everyone started sending it to me. But he says, okay, so I'm going to assume that you're an objective journalist, but yet you call the question that you ask me one of the practices barbaric. So clearly when somebody assigns a positive or negative to something in the question, they're showing a side on that, right? He's saying the abortion policy is barbaric. So Shapiro's basically calling him out as saying you're not objective because you said this is a bad practice and something that has two sides. So that was quick thinking of Shapiro there too.
One side of the political aisle has ideas. So I just want to point out that I wish you would at least be honest in your own biases.
Mr. Shapiro, I know that broadcasting in America is now so polarized that on one...
Did you see that? That was interesting. Most people aren't able to talk over Shapiro, but this guy is able to do so. And why? We're going to go back and watch it again. But it's because he's like a freight train, right? He's got a very calm, confident delivery, and he just sounds like he's not going to stop. And Shapiro recognizes that, so he stops. You hardly ever see that.
I wish you would at least be honest in your own biases.
Mr. Shapiro, I know that broadcasting in America is now so polarized that
life exists at conception. It ought to be protected. Now, back to my question to you. You purport to be an objective journalist. BBC purports to be an objective down-the-middle network. It obviously is not. It never has been. And you as a journalist are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages. Why don't you just say that you're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest?
I think that's fair. Like I said, I think Shapiro actually he melts down here in a little bit. But I think he got some good lines in here, and he's just not going to let that go. Because basically, the way Shapiro feels, this guy just showed his hand, his poker hand at the game, by calling that barbaric and saying that something's going to take him back to the Dark Ages. Clearly, there's negative connotations to those two comments, and he's not going to let that die. So as soon as he accepts the dude's frame for a minute and answers the question, he's right back on that point.
Seriously, it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it.
Okay, that actually is a powerful statement, even though it doesn't even make sense. Because what Shapiro said makes perfect sense, but the old dude in the fancy accent says, "Sir, if you only realized how ridiculous you sound, you wouldn't have said it. If you only realized how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it." And we'll see what Shapiro says.
Let's move on.
He doesn't even understand because it does make sense. But just because he says it, like, most people don't critically think about what's going on in a debate. So most people watching this TV show who are used to the BBC are going to think, oh, he got him. He told him he's ridiculous and he would never say that if he realized how dumb it was. And Shapiro's like, wait, what?
Would you vote
I
for
think it's
Mr.
pretty evident from your own questions exactly what you are, sir.
Trump? Would you vote for Mr. Trump in 2020?
See, he doesn't give him time. There's so many things going on right here. So he says that. You wouldn't have made that statement if you realized how dumb it sounded, and then is right on to the next question. So Shapiro, he tries to kind of defend himself and say, wait, that's exactly what you said. But this guy's right on to the next question, so he doesn't even really get a chance to drill that home.
If you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it. So let's move on.
Right on to the next.
Would you vote
I
for
think
Mr.
it's pretty evident from your own questions exactly what you are,
Just
sir.
repeats it.
Would you vote for Mr.
3
Trump
times.
in 2020?
I'd certainly consider voting for Mr. Trump in 2020, just like I'd consider voting for anybody else in 2020.
But didn't you once say that you'd never vote for him?
I said...
So now he's trying to trap him, right? Because he said a long time ago that he would never vote for Trump. And so now this guy's trying to trap him from some old tweets or old writing.
that I wouldn't vote for him in 2016. And then I wrote a column for National Review explaining the conditions under which I might change my mind.
You're a culture war warrior, isn't
The dude is a freight train if he's able to answer just straight on to the next question.
Now, you're a star of new media, of conservative new media. You and others on the left and the right, you position yourselves as supposed tellers of hard truths. But haven't you all just really coarsened public discourse in America and exacerbated its divisions?
You know, it's kind of odd to be hearing about me coarsening public discourse when you call policies you disagree with brutal and bringing us back to the Dark Ages.
So once again, this entire interview, he caught that guy slip it up. He's not going to let him leave it.
The point, I don't want to return to it, but the point was to put a position for you to reply to it. And I thought we covered that.
That's...
Well, I'll put
think
some of the points too, because on your videos,
characterization of issues is part of the problem in the coarsening of public debate.
Well, maybe it's also part of your problem too, because we have from your YouTube videos, Ben Shapiro destroys the abortion argument. Ben Shapiro destroys transgenderism and abortion. Is that not a kind of coarse public discourse?
Well, are those videos labeled by me?
I have no idea. But
why are you picking out? Why are you? I have a question. Why are you picking out random YouTube videos put up by people who are not me?
Are you
and then attributing the titles to me?
Are you unhappy with the way they've been described?
So the old guy is not going to let that slide. So Shapiro says, listen, those aren't even my videos. How are you pulling those up? Why are you even reading me the titles? Nothing to do with me. But Shapiro has said in the past that he loves those videos that go up. I don't know if this guy's really done that much research and knows that, but now he holds his feet to the fire by saying, well, do you like him or not?
I think that people can describe me however they please. It's a free country, and I'm all in favor of a public debate. If you watch the actual clips, they are generally civil conversations between me and somebody who disagrees with me.
Oh, well, again, with Mr. Obama, you said, and you're Jewish yourself. I only mention that because to put this in context. The Jews who vote for Obama are, by and large, Jews in name only. Ginos, you call them.
My statement was based on the fact that Jews in the United States, as an ethnic group, are largely irreligious, which is true by every single poll. Jews are the most irreligious group in the United States. As an Orthodox Jew who actually takes Judaism seriously, the point that I am making is that most Jews who are ethnically Jewish are not religiously Jewish in any context
No. The point you were making is that Jews who vote for Obama are Jews in name only. I mean, I guess...
Also, I hope you're having...
So now you can see he's had enough, because this guy just constantly is just asking these ridiculous questions, gives no response, and is just calling up old things he said. And I think the whole thing about the Jewish religion is really starting to get under his skin. So watch him now. I think this is when he starts to melt down.
Fun, by the way, going through every old tweet that I've ever sent to try and do gotcha questions. But if you'd like to have a discussion about my general philosophy or things I've done in, say, I don't know, that's 2012, so it's now 2019. If you'd like to discuss something I've done in, say, like the past 5 years, why don't we do that? How about that?
And it takes a lot to get him emotionally rattled. Even though he's trying to kind of keep it together, this is about as mad as I've seen him on TV before.
Because your book is a criticism of how angry America is and how America has to do better. And I'm simply
I have an entire list on my website, sir. On my list, I have an entire website of dumb, bad things that I've said.
I'm simply trying to point out some of the things you've said that seem to me to help to stoke that anger. For example, you said Israelis like to build. Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Well, as I say in an article entitled, here's a list of all the giant, bad, dumb things I've ever said.
Oh, man.
Was that dumb?
Yes, that's a dumb tweet. And not only, but it is also important to mention that the next few tweets clarify that that tweet is specifically referring to the Hamas leaders.
You're how worked up he's getting. Now, and another thing is important to understand. How worked up is he compared to the person he's talking to? Because usually your emotional state and emotional reactivity is always compared to the other person. You know, the person who reacts the least typically has the highest status. And the other dude, just unflappable. He hasn't changed his tone, his speed at all. And you can see Shapiro speeding up, getting more tense, getting more nervous, and getting more agitated.
No, actually, it wasn't what you went on to do and say. You are correct about the slur on Arabs. It's not all Arabs that want to live in open sewage and blow things up. It's just Palestinians, you went on to say.
No, it says the ones who take sides against Israel in the Israel-Palestinian conflict.
Population is rotten to the core, you went on to say. Not Hamas. Palestinian Arab.
Listen to this guy just talk over him. Shapiro knows he can't stop him, so he's not even trying anymore. Once this guy starts talking, he's not stopping until he said his piece.
Population.
I say that by poll numbers, they elected Hamas. They educate their children in school that Israel should be obliterated, sir.
I guess.
If you want to read, honestly, this is a giant waste of time.
So now he's getting angry. You can hear it. Now he's breaking off. He's considering leaving. I think he's wanting to leave right now.
In the sense that the entire interview is designed for you to shout slogans or old things that I've said at me. I don't see how this forwards the debate. You talk about undermining the public discourse. It seems to me that simply going through and finding lone things that sound bad out of context and then hitting people with them is a way for you to make a quick buck on BBC off the fact that I'm popular and no one has ever heard of you.
Okay. So that's funny and that's coherent, right? He's saying, because really all this guy has done has been pulled up old things he said. It's not even like in the same context. He's trying to tie it all back together to like the polarity of the political system in the United States, but he's just using that as kind of a framework to be able to pull anything that he wants that he said is somewhat extreme. And Shapiro very competently and kind of elegantly called that out, but then how did he end it? You know he's getting mad when he makes a personal attack and says he's never even heard of him.
There are not many bucks to be made on the BBC, unlike American broadcasting, Mr. Shapiro. The point I'm trying to make is that your words are hardly designed to produce the consensus and understanding that the book seems to want to produce. That's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on.
Look at his body. Let's go back and watch that again. He can't even sit still. He's so angry. That's such a tell. And you look at this frame right now. His finger is on his cheek. Anytime you put your hand over your face or on your neck, and the back of the neck is actually the highest stress tell, he's under major stress right now, and he's showing it with all his body language.
The book seems to want to produce. That's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on, but so much of what you've said in the past would seem
trying to keep it together.
Turn its back on Judeo-Christian culture.
You're lecturing me on Judeo-Christian culture after you call the pro-life position barbaric?
I just asked you a question.
And I asked you a question. You failed to answer a single one of mine. Frankly, I find this whole thing a waste of time. If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you
frankly,
just try and
I don't
answer
care.
the
I don't frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
And I've never heard of you until I briefed myself for this. But that's
Okay, so that's his little comeback. I've never heard of you either. So he's trying to. He's clearly getting a little bit more worked up. The old dude, this may be about as worked up as he gets, but he's getting a little bit. It's kind of a personal attack. He said twice he doesn't know who he is.
It's not the issue. You have a
Then
new
why the hell
book
are you
out,
interviewing
and
me, sir?
it's an interesting book. But my point is, your book claims that
Well, it'd be
society...
nice if you would quote it from time to time.
Your book is... Well, actually, I've done so several times, and I'm about to do so again, if you would let me just finish the question. Your book...
He says that like Shapiro's been talking over him the whole interview, as if that old dude hasn't just been steamrolling him the whole time.
Frankly, I don't think
claims
this
that
is, you know what?
society
Honestly,
is turning its
sir,
back on Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah, this is,
What are
considering
those values? What are the values it's turning its
Dude, the
back
guy's
on?
so good at talking over him that he knew Shapiro was going to leave right there. Just keeps on talking through, and he actually sucks Shapiro back in a little bit longer. Let's watch. Let's watch when we can tell that he wanted to
Your
leave.
book is... Well, actually, I've done so several times, and I'm about to do so again, if you would let me just finish the question. Your book
frankly, I don't
claims
think
that
this, you know what?
society
Honestly,
is turning its
sir.
back
All right, so he knows he wants to leave right
Judeo-Christian
there.
Values.
Yeah, this is,
What are
considering
those values? What are the values it's turning its back on?
By the way, I've got a video. People talk over you and you have a hard time. I think Shapiro needs to watch this video after seeing this now too. I've got 3 ways that when anybody talks over you, there's 3 strategies you can use to shut them down so you can keep talking. I'll put a link to that in the description below and also a card up top here if you want to watch that video.
I'm not inclined to continue an interview with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer. So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse. Now, Mr. Shapiro, we'll say goodbye.
Wow. And so he closes it down with the final slap in the face. Thank you for showing that anger is not a part of the American discourse when he got so worked up. I've never seen Shapiro actually walk out and unplug a microphone before. That's something. Now, Shapiro was definitely under attack right there. And if you ever have people who make fun of you or put you down, maybe your friends talk down to you, make you feel a little bit small, or maybe your boss or a coworker talks down to you and you can't think of a quick comeback, I've got a video for that too. I'll put a link in the description, or you can click right here to watch it, and I'll teach you what you can do to kind of put that person in place. Or if you haven't seen this video of Shapiro on the other side where he's going up against Bill Maher and he makes a little bit better case for his chatter, you can click right here. Click to either of those and I'll talk to you there.